Are you ready to turn every conference and networking event into a powerful source of connections and referrals for your business? Welcome to Master Conference Networking. I'm Catherine Brown, founder of the Good Humans Growth Network. Here we will unlock the strategies to build an authentic, profitable network from the events you attend. Join me and our expert guests to transform your interactions and maximize your business development. Stop feeling overwhelmed and start strategically building your best network, the Good Human way. I am joined today by my friend Brooke Greening, who is going to be sharing some things about how to maximize your experience at conferences, trade associations, chamber events, and conferences with the Good Humans Growth Network. I love welcoming another sales professional because I think we're really going to get into some of those secrets that come from trial and error, and we want to give them away so you learn them more easily than we did. And so we're looking forward to diving into that conversation. Brooke, would you introduce yourself to everyone?
Hello. Thank you so much, Catherine. My name is Brooke Greening. I am co-owner of Building Momentum Resources, and I just firmly believe you do not have to be a jerk to be good at sales. And so I am excited to be able to talk about how can we do this in regards to networking and conferencing, because sometimes that can start to feel really uncomfortable, and it doesn't have to. It can be a great tool to continue to grow your business.
That's wonderful. And so one of the things we've established in some of the other conversations around conferences, and just to give people context, if this is the first episode they're listening to, is we have talked about how there are all kinds of ways to maximize an experience while you're at the event, because you have referral partners in the room, you have buyers in the room, you have these different pipelines. There are strategies about what you can bring, have a QR code, make it easy to connect with people, keep good notes, all these kinds of things like that we've discussed. And what I really want to focus on in this conversation is how is it, why is it, and how can we encourage people to understand that when they get home is when the revenue generating activities really start? Mm-hmm. How can we help them be readier and excited about it and understand what is, quote, normal? Because it's been my observation, having held several large conferences now, as well as attending all the ones I did, just in different capacities before I had the Good Humans Growth Network. I think we just are always misaligned and surprised how tired we are when we come home and what is left for us. Yeah. So let's start with place yourself, Brooke, in the middle of the event. You're in the middle of the event working it yourself. You've captured your notes somehow. Walk us through what you'll do. You've captured your notes of what your various follow-ups are. How are you capturing that? Where are you capturing that? What happens next?
Sure. Well, the very first thing I want to encourage is sometimes when we're having our conversations and we're having it face to face, we almost feel like we can't set the appointment right then and there. And I just want to encourage you that we should, because all momentum starts to go away after we walk away. Literally, as we're talking to someone and then we say, oh yeah, we should probably get together, or we need to talk about this, or that's really intriguing to me, I'd like to know more. And then we walk away, that momentum starts to fade. So The very first thing I want to encourage is, if you really want to talk to them, just ask them right then and there and say, hey, I know I could probably reach out to you in a week or two, but if you're really interested in wanting to be able to do this, are you okay for us to set up a time right now? I've got my phone. I know you've got your phone. And people are there at the networking event. They're going to probably be able to do that. And so that's one thing I want to encourage. We don't have to wait. When we're talking to them face to face and we feel like this is a good idea to move forward, I'm not saying we're doing this with everybody that we meet. That would be a little exhausting, but we know this is a good connection. This is what we want to continue to develop. Do it right there.
Brooke,
that's the first piece.
I love that. I'd love to jump in. It's not just about momentum, although that's very much a part of it. It is also, may I suggest that you be as specific as you could be? Because if I had $1 for every time someone post-event, like a member of the Good Humans Growth Network, kind of joked with me, but not really joking, and said, yeah, so I have all these cards and I took some notes, but I can't even remember when I agreed that the reason was we were going to get together. Like, so it might be, well, they're fractional and I'm a fractional, But
Yeah.
it's like, we discussed this and the idea was a collaboration around XYZ. Then when you get ready to resend the agenda to remind them about the call, remind them while you're talking because
Yes.
they can't remember either. No one can remember.
No. And if the whole conversation starts with, tell me where you're calling from or what's going on, we've got a little bit of a problem because neither one know exactly what's going on. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can be intentional and it doesn't have to be intrusive. It doesn't have to be pushy, but you do need to be intentional. And so as you're having these conversations, you're thinking in your mind, they're going to be coming into two categories. One, can I help you in regards to the services that I offer? Or two, are you in front of the people that I can be able to help? Those are the things. And it's okay to tell them that and say, hey, it sounds like this might be a really good fit. Can we be able to set up a time? Or it sounds like you and I would be able to work well together in regards to I'm interacting with people that would benefit from working with you. And it sounds like you're interacting with people that could benefit working with me. Would you be open to having more of a collaboration conversation? And then setting it right there. And like you said, then recapping that afterwards. Because when you walk into a conference, there can be hundreds of people and you're just not going, you're not going to remember.
So good. And let's say that someone learned your name or you don't remember why the person wanted to talk and they want to reach out and book. Hey, would you like to grab a coffee? I feel like what I'm seeing with people who have been involved in the network longer and longer is that they are becoming pickier. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a really good way because they're getting more and more clarity where they're realizing, okay, I've been at this a couple of years. And what I've learned is that only people that serve these three industries really, really are positioned to get me in front of the right people. So I would say just because someone follows up with you and responds, it's actually, I think it's Brene Brown that says clear is kind.
Yeah.
Right? Like just say, I'm looking forward to visiting if it still makes sense. May I give you a little more information about what I'm looking for? And then it's okay. You don't have to give them 30 minutes or an hour if they're really not your person.
Yeah.
It's on every person to be clear of advocating for themselves. What do I need? Who am I trying to meet? And making that agenda clear. So just saying follow up after sell well or follow up after chamber event or follow up after grow. I'm going to say that's not good enough.
No.
Because all of our time is more valuable than that. And so let's say what we want to get out of the call and be really straightforward about that because people appreciate that clarity.
Yes. And when you're putting your notes in, wherever it is, I highly recommend like having a CRM because that is meant to work for you, not going against you. But if you don't have one, if you have an Excel spreadsheet, you have to put in notes that help you to remember what that conversation was about. Because if you're like, well, they're looking to grow their business, it reminds me of when I used to work in the senior living community and I'd be like, hey, I met this daughter. She's looking for a place for her mom. She's really sweet. She's overwhelmed. Okay. And then I go look at it again. I have no idea because everybody is in that category. And so you want to have specific things that you're writing down to be able to build that relationship. It also shows that you care enough about their business and what's going on that, and we talk about this in our service sales framework, it's establishing that rapport piece. And that is really important. And what I mean by that is we're looking at what's going on in their business, not to diagnose their problem, not to get them to work with us, but to truly understand what's driving them and motivating them and what kind of questions could we ask that show we care about what's going on and the struggles they're facing, not because we're trying to get them to work with us necessarily. That will come, but that's not in the beginning.
And that's to our referral partner and to a buyer, right? Like what is important to them right now. Exactly.
Yeah.
I've heard two like quick pro tips. I've heard some people say that they will step away for a second, walk down the hall and actually do a voice memo. If they have an assistant, they'll do a voice memo to the assistant and just brain dump everything they can think of about that conversation right then. So someone else actually enters it, which I think is really clever. Others will do a memo to themselves and make a plan that night they sit down and enter their stuff before they go to the next day. So there's not 2 or 3 days worth of stuff, but only one. I thought both of those were good suggestions.
Yes. And if you don't have something that's like electronically connecting things, just take a picture of their business card because it's so easy to lose it and it goes somewhere else. And so to take a picture and then you can write a note in regards to what's going on. But I agree 100%. If you have the mental capacity to put the information in your CRM or whatever notes that you're doing that day, that night, that is going to be so much easier than coming back and then trying to remember all the things that are going on.
But just congratulate yourself 1,000 times over. It's like when you wake up the next morning and you manage to skip dessert, you're like, I'm awesome,
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
now we're home. So we all like sleep a little bit later the next couple mornings.
Yes.
We're recovering because it's a lot of people, whether an introvert or an extrovert. And then you're starting to work on your rhythm and follow up. So
Mhm.
we talk a lot in my network about having templates, having a plan, thinking about what you're going to share. One thing that was kind of cool, after one event I did, I was doing some coaching with someone who had been a sponsor, and we were talking about how a lot of the same collateral that might be interesting, like case studies or blogs that had been formatted in certain ways, things like that, those would be all interesting to referral partners too,
Mhm.
because what we don't want to do is get in a situation where we've tried one or two times, we can't get them back on a call, and then we start saying
Mhm.
things like just checking in,
Oh, yeah.
because it feels so bad to everyone, and it feels like it's not
Mhm.
valuable, but we do that because we don't actually have a
Yeah.
plan.
No, 100%. My goal is that anytime I'm having a conversation, we have a plan of what we're going to be doing. So, in any sales conversation we're having, any network event that we're doing, we're going to be asking ourselves this question: do they know what they need to do next to move forward with me? And do I know if they're going to do it? If so, when? And if not, why? If that's not answered, it all goes into vague follow up land. And then that's what happens. We start doing circling back or checking in, and we're asking them questions that they can't even respond to. How are you supposed to respond to, I'm checking in? How are you supposed to respond to, I'm circling back? You have to have intentional questions for them to even be able to respond back to. That would be one of the pieces to do. The other
Mm.
piece is, I know you're tired and all of that, but before you even leave, block off time on that Monday or Tuesday, whatever day it is, and block it off so that then you can go back and you can. So if it didn't work to get it scheduled at that point, now we're doing it again, because it gets awkward if it's week 2, week 3. Hey, we met at the conference. We were kind of talking about something, and like
Mhm.
all that momentum has gone away. So block it off so that you can be able to use that. But the other piece I would encourage, and what you were talking about of being specific, what you want to do even before you get to the conference is have things that people could get excited about and start with you right away. Like, we're
Mhm.
not jumping from 0 to 10,000 to 100,000 or whatever it is. Like, people don't usually make that decision immediately in one conversation, but have an offer that gets people excited to be able to work with you, that starts that relationship that could then lead to retainers and things like that. Have that set and ready to go, so that those are the things you can be talking about. Those are the things that you can keep moving forward, because I think so many times people put so much pressure and they feel like, okay, we got to make up, we got to do the ROI for this, we've got to do all of these things, and we feel like I have to do all of it. Like, I need them to give me referrals right now. I need them to buy my 10,000 retainer, whatever it is. Have something that's a little bit easier to digest, where it
Mhm.
allows you to get to know them and they get to know you. And then we get to figure out, yes, this would be a good idea to have a long-term relationship,
Yes.
or no, it
Yeah.
would not.
Yes.
And I'm really glad we figured it out sooner rather than later.
I think one of the things that people forget when they feel like they get moved into a sales chasing role, like in that follow-up, black hole, is they
Hmm.
forget to lead themselves. They forget that they can be a leader to themselves and they can be a leader to other
Hmm.
people. And so thinking specifically around a conference whose intention is networking, like
Hmm.
what's coming to me as you're talking is I'm thinking, if I were starting all over again, I would have a plan of maybe 5 things that I could say, share, or do
Yes.
that I was committed to doing with each person. And I would do everything in my power. Don't forget, Brooke already said, just go ahead and schedule that meeting while you're at the event. Like, if you
Hmm.
can say, this has been such a fun thing to talk with you, Brooke. Can we go ahead and pull our phones out? And I would joke, I need to put on my glasses because I can't read the
Yeah.
print that small. And I'd say, let's go ahead and pick a time, even if it's a month from now, even if whenever it is, let's
Yes.
get that picked. And then I
Yes.
remind you when that gets close, I remind you why we're talking, because I kept good
Hmm.
notes. So then we pick that back up. If for some reason it's just we're about to rush in or we're walking in to sit down and we miss the chance to do that, you are going to have to set that meeting. You're going to have to go ask for
Yeah.
that meeting.
Yes.
And that's where I think people will ask once or twice and then they kind of spaz out because they think that
Hmm.
they are being overly pushy, and that name, which used to look woman friendly to you, the longer the time passes, the more you feel fearful about it.
Yes.
And that's where having a plan to say, I promised my former self when I was in my right mind and not scared that this was the plan I was going to follow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And the plan might be make sure I'm connected to every person on LinkedIn. I'm going to comment.
Yes.
I'm going to comment on their stuff. I'm going to double click the bell and comment on their stuff. Right. What are other things the plan could be?
Well, I think also just know who you are and own it. So many times we get so scared and we're like, they're going to think I'm pushy. They're going to think this is going on. And like you said, you're creating that plan. Well, know who you are and own it, and know that this is how you can be able to help. So are there other resources that you might be able to send them? That is not, it's not going to, when I say resources, we talk about like lead generators and things like that. But these are tools that are going to be helpful for them, whether they choose to work with you or not.
Yes.
Is there something that you can share with them? Is there something in regards to when you see something or it reminds you of the conversation they had that you can do? Like, have it set up so that the follow-up is intentional. So yes, we're going to do it at the very beginning. If we can't, we're going to block out time to be able to do that. But then what is our plan for the next month? What are things that we can send them? What are things that we can be able to have conversations about? And there's nothing wrong. And the other thing is that I would encourage is call them. So many times we're just like, oh, I sent them an email. Oh,
yes.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
No
I have a lot of
idea.
emails in my box right now. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Make a commitment that you're going to call them. You had a good conversation. They said they wanted to be able to talk with you. So just say, hey, I really enjoyed being able to talk with you. Is this something you're still wanting to do? If so, let's be able to set up a time.
Yes.
That allows them to call you back and say, hey, no, it's not a good idea. Or yes, I can. It's not that follow-up left message, because that's just incredibly uncomfortable. But put that in your plan. Make sure I'm actually going to call them, because that's how you start moving things forward. When you actually start talking to them and having conversations with them, that's how we continue to build that trust.
Yes.
Emails that go out, maybe they get them, maybe they don't. Messages in LinkedIn, none of these are bad. But the best thing is to be able to actually have that conversation with them. The other thing I would add is if you are connected with them on LinkedIn, send them a video. Put it on, either do it on LinkedIn or do it on Loom. And that just helps to kind of separate you from everybody else. It's that authenticity of, hey, like, I really enjoyed talking to you. I'm excited. These were some of the things I was thinking about how we might be able to collaborate together. Are you still wanting to set up that time? So great. Got my calendar link right here. Look forward to talking with you soon. A personal video is huge.
Huge. And I would say, I think at the same level of appreciation is a sincere contribution and comment on someone's post. Because
100%.
Like, not many people are, including me, are so famous that they don't notice who comments.
Yes. No, that's a great point.
I totally notice who comments. Even if like for me, a huge response on a post would be, 30 back and forths, 15 posts with 15 of me responding. That would be a great response for me at this stage in my career. And many of them are 3, 4, 5, depending on the day it hit, how the algorithm hit. I know exactly who comments on my stuff. I know the new people who are commenting on my stuff. I can't help but notice, because it's dinging me, and I'm like, oh, look, that's a new person. Like, so it's so easy to stand out by promoting them, resharing, saying, this is my new friend from so-and-so, and look what they did. And that's part of that owning yourself. Like, one of the reasons at our next upcoming event, Brooke, that we have information about branding is because this idea of confidence in your personal brand is like, it's so critical, because building trust comes from you being your full nerd self, or your full sweet self, or whatever you are, your quirky self, your funny self, whatever it is. Being yourself helps you be memorable, and people, they will attach themselves to that, and it helps them to understand that you're not a machine, and it's what we call good human.
It's just, like you said, it's just being that human part of it, and not so many times, I think, not only knowing who you are and own it, but just like, we have a lot of voices going on in our head. It doesn't mean we have to listen to them all.
That's right.
Just because it got in there doesn't mean that it gets to stay. And especially when it comes to sales and follow-up and being intentional and all of that, we're terrified that they're going to either go tell other people, oh, she was really pushy, she was really salesy, she didn't do that, or we're terrified they're going to turn it back on us and be like, knock it off, leave me alone. But I have never had that happen.
Yeah.
Never. Either they just don't want to respond, and that's perfectly okay, or half the time it's always like, wow, I really like your follow-up. I could learn something
Yes.
from
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much for reaching out. And so just to be like, worst case scenario, they don't respond or they say no. And it's okay. Like, we have to be able to get over that.
I love that example, Brooke. It makes me think, I think you'd enjoy this quick story. For this latest event that I'm recruiting toward, we've learned a couple conferences ago that we need to have an unsubscribe button where someone can say, I don't want to hear more about this event, but I want to stay connected to you. So we're trying to improve our preferences on our email marketing. And so that went well the first time. We got some people click it. This last conference, I have over 300 people who said, I don't want to hear about this conference. And like, when you first hear that, I mean, you hear me laughing. When you first hear it, you're like, how is that good news? But the thing is that if you're doing weekly emails and you're doing a really strong promotion around something,
yes,
there's going to be weekly emails until, in this case, mid-September. And so I love that we gave a way to say, I want to hear from you that doesn't require you to do a full unsub. Yeah. And then now my brain is thinking, well, what else could I send to you? Or how can I serve you? Because this could just simply be a schedule conflict. This doesn't even necessarily mean I don't want to do any events. It could just, the question on the yellow button says, if I can't attend this one, I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Yeah.
And so I love that, because I was scared to put that button. I thought, what does it mean if I do that? Does it communicate? Is someone going to think that I think it means this isn't worthwhile? Or, it's this idea of like, you don't have to believe every thought that comes in your head. Michael Hyatt supposedly has a sign on his kitchen that says, you don't have to believe everything you think.
Yeah.
Right. So I did it anyway. And I have this huge number of people who clicked it. Now, it's still a fair percent compared to the size of the whole list. It's not mortifying. But the flip side of how I can view that is I could say, look at all these people who said, I want to be connected, and thanks for giving that opportunity. So my point is to say that it felt like it was a little bit risky, but I did it and I felt like I was rewarded for that. And people have shown me like, thanks, I'm taking advantage of that. And that requires bravery. And we have to put ourselves out there and coach ourselves through. Okay, you can do it. One more thing.
And we always assume like worst intentions, not because we're trying to be evil people. That's not what I'm saying. But we just assume if someone says that they've unsubscribed, they're angry. They don't want to have anything to do with us anymore. And we don't have any idea. And so when we start making those assumptions, then we start getting fearful, and then we start backing off. Not only that, then we're terrified what everybody else is thinking. And so you just have to not only know who you are and own it, but then two, people don't really care about us or think about us as much as we think they do.
So good.
It can be simple as, Catherine, I already signed up for your event. I don't really want 20 more emails coming at me about like signing up for the event, because I'm getting all these great emails about I'm in it. I'm excited to be a part of it.
That's right. Or, I mean,
we don't know.
The end of February is often, like, we're often close to President's Day, and it's often around the last possible ski weekend. So sometimes people have holidays with kids. It's a long weekend. I mean, it's just, it's a time that's just not great for everybody, but it's a time that is good for many, and it's a wonderful time to be at the beach in Texas. So that's why we do it, but it's not right for everybody. I love what you said. So I want to make sure that the audience is hearing, another principle is #no assumptions. No assumptions. Notice when you're making up a story and ask yourself, could this be something else? Is there another way to look at this? Because managing ourselves in the process is so much a part of that. It's so much a part of that success. Okay. So
and we do that also in our sales conversations. We talk about that a lot in the service framework. Objections are a good thing when our customers are sharing them with us. Us creating them are not. And so it's the same thing, whether we're networking, whether we're doing emails, whether we're in sales conversations. If we create the objections of why they're saying, no, take me off, I'm waiting, whatever, instead of actually knowing what it is, then it just messes with our head. And we start going into this spiral of, okay, now I have to fix this, 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 and this. and we didn't have to do any of that. So don't create them and don't assume them.
I love that. So we've named some examples of what a follow-up might look like. I'm just throw this out here. We'll build their sequence for them live in real time.
Yes.
Okay, so we try to get our meeting set while we're there. If we can't, we do it when we get back. We schedule on our calendar to have real time to work on this that we treat as precious as if it were a sales call with a live person, right? My revenue generating activity time is scheduled. And you spread that out and you hold that time for at least a couple of weeks every day, at least a couple of weeks post-conference. And then you might start to get in a rhythm where you're starting to see who's agreeing, what conversations are progressing, what do I still have to chase, what do I still have to do. But we've talked about making sure you're connected on LinkedIn, do a voice memo, do a video, comment, make a commitment to schedule 15 minutes on your calendar in the morning and go double click the bell so that it appears in your feed and comment on the posts of the people you really want to be closer to. You want to befriend them and you believe you could work together, collaborate, share clients, things like that. You also probably have favorite resources. So these could be tools you have, or you say, I'm sharing my case study. You have other people's stuff. Like I often will promote other people's webinar and say, this was one of my favorite episodes about this topic. Something you said made me think of you. I think you'd enjoy this, right? So it could be other people's resources. But all these things you share and do keep you from just having an email that says just checking in, which everyone wants to ignore.
Yeah. And the other piece is we're doing all of this, but if someone is actually reaching out to you, it's just as vital that you're responding quickly. So you're doing all of this, but I have something called the daily 5 of like, what are we doing every day for daily 5 habits for our sales activities and making sure they're like revenue generating, not just busy work, but what do we need to do? And one of the top ones is respond. And I try to respond within 2 hours. So if it's someone that's legit, we had a conversation and now they're reaching back out to me, it doesn't mean we have to necessarily set the agenda right then and there. Maybe we can't. Maybe we don't have our calendar right in front of us.
Yes.
But respond to them quickly.
Yeah.
And because they've taken the time to reach out to you. And like you said, be very clear, like, hey, this is what I've actually found is helpful. If you still think it's a great idea to meet, let's do that. But respond to those who are reaching back out to you as well. We can put that kind of on the back burner too. We can see it. We can be like, oh yeah, I need to respond to that. And then we don't.
Yes. And remove whatever obstacles keeping you from doing it. Like if you're behind on your Calendly or whatever the thing is, like just, it's not going to get better by ignoring it. So that doesn't work when like little kids do that.
Yes. And then if you know that,
do that as adults.
Yes. And we talked about like making sure you block time out to do that. Also, look at your calendar now and block out time that people could schedule those times so that your schedule, like if you wait until September 10th or 11th to carve that out, that might be a little difficult, but
it will be November before someone could speak with you. But if you say from 3 to 5 p.m. my time zone, 3 days a week, I'm going to hold these places for my future referral partners. That's a real pro tip. That's great. That's really great, Brooke.
And then you have that when you're talking to them face to face, so you can do it then. But then you also have it so you're not scrambling, trying to figure out, okay, I need to open up more time on my calendar because I want to be able to talk to them within the next 2 weeks. Like, no, just do yourself a favor and have those blocked out now so other people can't take them.
You know, I have a friend in the network who will be speaking at our next event, and she has one morning a week that is dedicated for referral and networking conversations. She's booked many weeks out because it's just that one morning, but she's working on product. There's other things she's doing that's also a priority. And sometimes people will be like, why do I have to wait so far? And she's like, that's the time I have.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like, I've held this time. That's the time I've had. It's full. And the next time I'll have in this window is X. That's also okay because you have a time. You get to decide how much time you want to make for this, but you're still getting back to people in a professional and kind manner. You're managing yourself according to your goals, right? It's the clear as kind. You're being clear about what this looks like for you. It's interesting to me. You could have real people-pleasing tendencies, and that could lead you actually to avoiding because you think, I can't do it right, so I won't do it. And that's not good either.
No, I think it's again saying, hey, I really want to be able to do this. These are the times that I have. And if it keeps getting pushed out, then that's what's happening. And I know you're not saying this. I'm not suggesting we do that in regards to sales calls. I don't think we should be pushing those out for
Sure,
like
sure. Now, these are
weeks on weeks.
referral. These are let's get to
Yeah.
know each other. Maybe we can collaborate
Yes.
kind of conversations. I agree.
Yeah.
Because those relationships take a while to cultivate. I know some people inside my network who have started to do a lot of joint marketing and they're really starting to have a lot of traction with referrals. I asked one of the parties, I mean, they got together and interacted directly, just the two of them in different small group settings 5 times
Yeah.
in addition to seeing each other at our events. But they had like all these separate, what are you up to? What am I up to? What am I developing? They had like
Yeah.
5 interactions before they could get it quite right. I could see it. I mean, I was like, that relationship makes sense. I see what you're both doing, and that makes sense to collaborate, to do webinars, to
Yeah.
speak at things together, to have it some kind of joint go to market thing. But it takes a while to build that trust.
It does.
Yeah.
Because it's your business and it's their business. Like it's not something, it's exactly like a sales conversation because they're like, do we trust each other? Can you be able to help us? Can you help solve the problems that we have? And you might not be able to resolve all of that in one conversation. And then you're watching them and they're watching you, and that is perfectly okay. It's like dating. You're not usually like, bingo.
Right.
And we're married. And
That's
so,
right. That's right.
yeah.
And even if one person thinks on date 2, this is my person, the other person often takes a
Yes.
bit longer, right?
Yes.
That was my story with my spouse. Okay, let's go to Brooke. Let's wrap up with just like best practices. I know that when we were planning for this, I said, just what else would you want people to know that is this idea of making the most of conferences, making the most of these experiences, maximizing them? What would you like to share?
So I have about 5 or 6.
Great. Let's do it.
So the first one is like if you have websites, LinkedIn sites, different things like that, just feel confident about them. The last thing you want is you're going into a networking group and they're going to check out your website and you're like, "Ugh, I'm not sure about that."
Don't say, ooh.
Yeah, just make sure like if you have things that you're offering, is that updated on your site? Because I guarantee you where people are going is your site, is LinkedIn. And so just make sure. I feel confident that if they hit that, we're good to go.
Get your stuff ready. Got it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
The other piece is if you are going to say something, because it's going to happen all the time, and they're like, hey, tell me about your business. And we start with like, well, it's a little complicated, or that's the $1 million question, or whatever that case is. I'm Story Brand Guide, so we're big proponents of this. But make sure you have something that you can say in 1 to 2 sentences that helps them to understand what you do. And we always say the solution is 1 problem, 1 solution, 1 result. Put that in a 1 to 2 sentence format and practice it and make sure it feels comfortable for you and start thinking about, well, how would I even start to approach that? How would I couch that? Do that, because then when they say, hey, what do you do? It's not that awkward thing, because if we actually stumble in that, people will start to devalue what we're doing. They're like, oh, do they know what they're doing? And I am not saying that to scare or to be judgmental. It's just the reality of our human perspective. If I'm asking someone, what do you do? And they're like, well, things are changing. I'm not entirely sure. You're like, oh, they're a little bit on uneven ground. Right now.
I'm going to jump in on that because like one of the things about a distinctive networking conference, and among just in our case, our events, you really can expect that people there who are going to be very nice and very kind and very open to helping. I do think it's okay to say, I've been changing the way I describe this. May I give you my new version?
Sure.
And they go, sure. And now you're engaged because you really actually might want to practice a new one while you're there. I think that's okay.
100%.
It still needs to be short.
Yes.
So it's short and clear. And so feel free to try that out. I think just say, I like your feedback. Can you tell what I sell?
Yes. 100%. And that's perfectly fine. I think the other piece is sometimes we work so hard on being able to talk about what we do, but the biggest piece is we need to talk about what they do. Mm-hmm. So that's where the homework comes in. That's when we start looking, and we were talking about like, how do I prepare? I would say find 5 people before you even go. You're doing it like for the Sell Well conference, we have Slack channels. We're going into pods. We've got all of this great stuff. So look at who's going to the conference and say, who are the top 5 that I would really like to talk to, because I feel like I could help them in the service that I offer. And who are the top 5 I just want in my corner? I want to be able to have a relationship with them. They seem like they're great people, and they're also in front of my ideal client. Pick those 10 people and do your homework so that when you have that moment to have a conversation with them, you have intentional, meaningful questions about their business that shows I care. I did
Love
a
that.
little bit of research before we even had this conversation. That is massive.
Love it.
And then if you don't, then we can't do that for everybody that shows up
right.
at a conference. Then come up with 1 or 2 questions that you can ask that helps get to know their business. Not like necessarily, well, tell me what you do, but just say, hey, I've been talking to a lot of people and they've been sharing these wins with me. What have been some of your wins this year? Like, have a couple of questions that are focused on them. Do we need to know what we do? Yes, because it's going to turn around. They're going to say, hey, blah, 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 blah. And then they usually spin it and they say, well, what about you? So you need to be able to have that. But more importantly, how you develop relationships, how we determine, is this going to be a good collaboration or can we help serve you, is talking about them and what's going on in their business. And so 1, do our homework in regards to those that we really want to talk to. And then 2, have 2 or 3 good questions of what we could ask that doesn't feel invasive, but is showing like, hey, this is what I've talked about other people and they've shared these struggles. What kind of struggles are you facing in your business? Those are good questions to be able to ask that help to start that. And that takes time to be able to prepare, but that is what makes a difference between what do you do and actually starting a conversation and moving things forward.
So we have get your marketing stuff together. Make sure you're happy with your site and your LinkedIn profile. What was the second point? Tell me the second point.
1, you do need to know, how are you going to explain what you do
Value
in a confident manner.
Practice what you're going to say. Decide if you're trying on something new. Say it in front of the mirror. Right. Get ready. Good point. And we feel like with that story brand training too, I know that we want to make sure we're like inside the 2 sentences is the problem you solve, not the history of the company. Right.
No, not at all.
Right. So, it's like, let's just say that for everyone's benefit, right? Like you need to name a singular audience and the problem they solve as an example. Don't be scared to niche. People are smart. They can figure it out. So, So
you're talking about one problem that they're facing, one solution that you're offering, and the one result that comes when you do that.
I see that. That's right. Okay. And then the next was to pick 10 people. So you're picking 5 that you really, really, really want to talk to and 10 that you just like for different reasons. You're going to study them. You're going to start following them on LinkedIn. You're going to sign up for their email newsletter. You're going to notice what you want about them. And you're going to be ready when you go so that when you're talking with someone, you can say, do you know Brooke? Would you introduce me to her? And you're trying to make your way around and you're ready to have a conversation because you have followed their stuff.
Yes, because it's awkward if you're excited that you want to talk to them and then maybe you have one, like, what do you do? This, and then it's done. But if you actually had information about what they were doing and having good questions like, hey, just as an example, so it's not vague, you read one of their blog articles and you have an intelligent conversation about what they wrote.
Yeah.
That is huge.
Yeah.
Instead of a little awkwardness and like you were standing by the punch table and we don't know exactly what's happening. No, like do 10 minutes of research, have that ready to go. You're going to have it in a binder or a phone or whatever, so that when that moment comes, you're able to show like, hey, I read this article. This is what I found interesting. How did they respond to it? Or I was wondering about this piece. What were you meaning by this?
Yeah. Yes, I followed you for a while. This was my favorite of your episodes, or I heard you interview so-and-so, or yes, I love that. This, isn't it Bob Goff that has the phrase that says love does?
Yeah.
Like you have to actually go to a little trouble.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that when you do that, people appreciate it. I traveled all the way to Dallas from Houston a couple weeks ago to hear a speaker that I just had this deep sense that he was going to be an important strategic connection for me for the growth of the network. So I made the trip. It was a long day trip. And I made the trip. I connected. I invited him to connect on LinkedIn, which was brave because he didn't know me, right? But I said, I'm coming to hear you and I would love to connect with you. Well, he studied my stuff. And when I walked up and introduced myself in person before he spoke, before the event, he said, I like what you're doing. And I said, thank you. What did you notice? Because I'm kind of like curious what thing he read. He state back my value proposition to me. which was like, I went back to my team. I was like, it's like a victory in marketing when someone actually thinks back to you. And he said, I noticed you doing this. And so he literally said, you have combined personal development and business development training, and you have this ecosystem of entrepreneurs. And he said, I think that's really interesting. And I said, thank you. And thank you for telling me that was clear. That was really helpful. Well, we've already had a follow-up call where we have an ongoing way that we have a relationship, is sending me a copy of his latest book. And I've started, tagged him on some things where I think that would be good for him, and he'll get in front of more people that would lead to opportunities for him. But it was because he could review my stuff.
Yes.
And he won me over when he said, I noticed something that you posted.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
100%.
really, that proactiveness was so lovely.
Yes. It will be, and we do not do this in a manipulative way, but if you're trying to figure out, well, how in the world am I going to be standing out when there's hundreds of people and they're talking to everybody, and how are we going to make sure that they remember us and that we can continue to build that relationship? I guarantee you, by doing that, you do, because people just don't necessarily take that time. And that's when we go back to know who you are and own it, because there have been times where I'm like, I know what needs to happen, but you kind of feel a little weird sometimes. And you just have to say, no, like, I know this is important. I know that this is going to mean something to them. And it's okay if they saw one of my podcast episodes and they know what I'm doing.
Yes.
This is
That's why it's there.
to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Those are great suggestions. So use your resources. If you're attending something where people actually publish the list, or even the sponsors, Brooke, the sponsors, they want friends and referrals too. Like even if you go to events that don't share attendee lists ahead of time like we do, everyone promotes their sponsors.
Yes.
So think about what it means to reach out to them and say, who are you hoping to meet while you're here? Do not assume that they are going to force you to be a buyer. You don't know why they're attending that event. You don't know why they chose to sponsor that event. So they're people too,
Yeah. I just went to one conference in Florida just this last month, and one of the best connections was actually another sponsor. And we are in completely different worlds, but it was wonderful conversations and learning more about their business and what they're doing and all of those things. And it was not just being like, oh, well, they're sponsors, we're going to go focus over here. No. Like, we're here to be able to talk with people and to see how we can be able to serve them. I did want to say one thing, Catherine, because you said, when you had that conversation, you said, hey, I noticed there were things that you were doing. I noticed, like, I was intrigued by an article that you wrote. I just want to share this. If you do not have a follow-up to that, if they ask you, that is going to be a problem. So you can't say, hey, I've been following your stuff, and not have something concrete of what that is.
Yes.
Because then that looks manipulative and sneaky.
Yes.
And it might not be meaning to.
Right.
But that's how it comes across.
Love it.
Yeah. So don't say it if you didn't do it.
That would be anti-good human. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's awesome, Brooke. So awesome. Oh, that's so great. Well, thank you so much. Anything else you'd like to share?
I just want to encourage people that we can't be all-knowing. We can't be all present when these things are happening. So give yourself grace. Have a plan. Stick with it. Give yourself grace as you're going through this. Don't put so much pressure on yourself that you have to meet everybody, that you have to be able to make sure it's an immediate ROI. Like, just realize these things take time and give yourself grace. Have a plan and then hold it loosely and keep going.
Yes. I was just invited to be on a podcast of a friend from a city I have not lived in for 8 years. And we were friends, for 10 years back then. His business has changed. I have a different business. He follows me on LinkedIn. He reached out and said, would you like to be back in touch? We haven't had a live conversation for several years. And it just was like falling back into, like, I love this guy. I think he's a wonderful human. I was delighted to hear from him. And so we want to have a long view, because I plan to work for a long time. I love what I'm doing. And people follow people. So even as your businesses evolve, or if you are a business development leader and the company you represent changes, people will follow you because they're attached to you. We want to be persistent. We want to be brave, but we also want to be patient, because we're building a long foundation that's going to turn into years of referrals and not short, quick hits. And so it's this interesting balance, I think, between having that long view and also taking decisive action. And we want to hold both of those.
Yeah. It's the same thing in regards with our sales. And we talk about like you have people who are going to buy within 1 to 30 days and then 30 to 60 and 60 to 90. And if you only focus on people who are going to refer to you right now, we have a problem. We need to have a longer pipeline in regards to our referral network. So people who in the next 30 to 60 days will be bringing people, those in the next 60 to 90 days. If all you're doing is focusing on 1 to 30 activities, that's the sales roller coaster, up and down and up and down and up and down. You need to extend that. And so that's what these conferences allow us to do.
Ugh, what a pro. Such a pro. Such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. Well, I've enjoyed following you around. So Brooke is a great example of someone that teaches, gives away, does LinkedIn Lives, has her interviews as a guest on podcasts, has her podcasts. I think you're just a great model to follow of this, all the things you give before the paywall to build trust. I really want to encourage people to connect with you, and we'll have all kinds of ways that we share that contact information, and people will be able to do that. But thank you for this.
Oh, thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation.
See you soon in person.
You bet. I'm excited.